Great. Shrouk, how are we doing?
Shall we try again?
Let's try again, yes?
Oh my God, that was incredible. All right, let's try
Absolutely.
this. Share. Hopefully this works. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can
Yes,
indeed.
we are doing it. All right, okay. So I'm gonna go straight into it and I'm gonna start with an exercise. I want you to be able to see my face, by the way. If you can see both my face and my presentation, that would be super great. So I'm gonna give you 4 tasks and you only have 5 seconds for each task, okay? For the first one, I'd like you to think of a nurse in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give your nurse a name in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Now, think of a firefighter in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give your firefighter a name in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. It gets harder. Think of a rocket scientist in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give your rocket scientist a name in 3, 2, 1. And finally, think of an engineer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And give your engineer a name in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna park this on the side a minute. But first, I'd like you to have a look at this and let me know how many triangles can you see. Maybe you one day you can tell me how many triangles can you see?
Right, okay, so gosh, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Nice. Nice, I've heard 8, I've heard 12. I actually see 2, but the answer is 0. There are no triangles in this picture. Our brains are amazing. They're constantly filling in the gaps for us, and they do this in splits of seconds, way too quickly for us to normally catch our unconscious biases very easily. So I'd like to take you back to this slide, and I would like to introduce you to some of my personal friends. This is my friend John Cook, and he is a nurse. This is my friend Melissa Pinder, and she is a firefighter. Move you up. Oops. And this is my friend Bianca Kefalo, and she is a rocket scientist. Hello, lovely to meet you. I am Shrouk El-Attar, and I am an engineer. I go by she or they pronouns. You can take your pick. But she is an engineer is such a powerful statement, and it shouldn't be, but we live in a world where it is. So actually, if you're talking to me about engineering, I'd love for you to use she pronouns. So I've been named BBC 100 Most Influential Women in the World, UN Refugee Agency Young Women of the Year, and IET Top 6 Young Women Engineers in the UK just last year. When I look at this and then find myself in a webinar just like this one, full of BAME people, full of people who grew up in a disadvantaged background, and you are still here, despite everything there's a pandemic out there, and you choose to be here now, you are way more powerful than you can ever imagine. I know that every single one of you watching this now can achieve this and more. So in 5 or 10 years from now, when you have a slide like this about yourself, I want you to email me and be like, Shrouk, you were right. So this is going to be a 5-minute version of my talk, Young People in Engineering, a guide on how to kick ass. Okay, so something very strange is going on in my presentation. If you do notice it, please bring it up in the Q&A later. So I am from Egypt. I was born and raised in Egypt. And one of my earliest memories was realizing that the people on my TV are not actually tiny little people living inside it. And for me, that made me think that electronics was magic. So I got obsessed with electronics and I started to take everything apart, including my mum's mobile phone, which didn't make her very happy. My mum looks nothing like that, by the way. So I was so excited to just study engineering, and I skipped a couple of years, and I was supposed to be in my first year of university at just 16 one of the youngest to ever qualify for engineering. And in 2007, I came to the UK. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to guess which person I am in this picture, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Would you have guessed that? No, so, okay, just going off on a little bit of a tangent. When I was in year 3, I got taken to the principal's office because my hair was too messy, i.e. natural. And from that day on, I started straightening my hair obsessively every day, not because I wanted to, but because I felt I had to. So it took me a really long time just to accept my hair the way it is. Anyway, fast forward a few years and I've got my A-levels at Cathays High School in Cardiff, and I was so excited to finally be able to study that magic. But I found out that I couldn't, not because I was incapable, but because I was an asylum seeker. That's why a couple of years later, when I found out that I can be a STEM ambassador without having to be an engineer, I jumped at the opportunity. I was like, hey kids, I will teach you about engineering even though I'm not allowed to study it. So one of the things I've done, for example, is teach kids how to make hydroelectric generators from trash. And in 2013, there was an immigration dawn raid on my family home and my family were deported. I was not asleep at home that day and I ended up being left behind. I was the only one left behind. Not much later than that, I was given permission to stay in the UK, and that came with things like being able to access university. There are no amount of words to describe the pain I was in for losing my family so suddenly overnight. But I wasn't going to let this go to waste. And the first thing I did was apply to university to do electronic engineering. And at uni, I was able to continue my STEM ambassador work. And I've been a STEM ambassador for 9 years now. Woo! And then I tried to do as many student placements as possible. My first student placement was working with surgeons operating on the eye. And I made a system that helps with eye surgery. I then joined Intel for my year in industry, and I co-founded Intel Inspire, which is a STEM outreach group. I also built a car and raced it. I then went to Japan, to Japan's biggest electronic engineering company, Fujitsu, and I presented about my project in Japanese. Then I came back to the UK and I did my master's, where I created new methods of detecting cancer using electron quantum spin. And my system was a miniaturization of a system that already existed. So imagine a future where people can detect for things like cancer through something as small as their mobile phone. I'm just so proud that my research is going towards that future. And then I joined Renishaw as a graduate. Is the building work too loud?
It's okay. It's not too bad, actually. It's just like a background humming sound. That's fine.
Oh, it's really throwing me off sometimes. Thank you. So I then joined Renishaw as a graduate, and I basically made robots for a living. Some of the robots I made can measure things up to a single nanometer. That's 60,000 times thinner than a single hair. And I met with the CEO a few times, and I co-founded the company's first ever diversity and inclusion network. And now I work for a super cool company called Elvie, and I make technologies for cisgender women, for transgender men, and for some non-binary people. So some of the things I make are silent breast pumps or Kegel trainers, for example. And I love that I get to transform people's lives for a living. Being an engineer is my superpower, but I wasn't always allowed access to engineering. That's why I joined Student Action for Refugees, to campaign for equal access to higher education for asylum seekers. I spoke at Parliament a few times, I spoke to a lot of vice chancellors, and right now the campaign is successful at more than 75 universities across the country. That there are engineers today who are only able to study engineering because of a campaign that I led is an incredible feeling. But I know that with your help, we can make the whole of the UK a nation of equal access. So I am an engineer by day, belly dancer by night / drag king. I've built a machine that detects cancer. I've also belly danced around the world. I've belly danced to countries as far as India, as far as Japan. But growing up, I was always told that I have to choose between art and engineering. To these people I say, embrace the power of and. And then I'd like to finish with something really important, something that I've actually only just started being public about because it's been really hard for me to talk about. The truth is I almost quit engineering entirely, completely. I worked for somebody who made me feel like I was an awful engineer. Like whatever I did, I could never be good enough. There was nothing I could do to even be a mediocre engineer. And I don't think that quitting is for losers. I think knowing when to quit is a really great skill, but that was not the time. And had I quit then, I would have not been able to speak to you about any of the things I spoke to you about today. So from this experience, I took 3 things, and it's to take up space, to make sure that my voice is heard. And I will not apologize for my hair. I will not apologize for being queer. I will not apologize for being a woman. Be unapologetically your true, authentic self. Thank you for coming to my talk. Don't forget, if you have noticed something strange, to bring it up in the Q&A. And these are all the social medias you can stalk me at. And I really recommend you watch BBC's documentary, No More Boys and Girls. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wow.